You're listening to Radio Mayapur with the best devotional, meditation, kirtan music, and inspirational podcast. This is Radio Mayapur.
Hello, good morning everyone. We are in UK and we are doing today a wonderful podcast with the wonderful devotees. We are near London, near the Manor, and today we are with Tiktsu Prabhuji. He is born in UK in 1956. He studied in electronics and he met the devotee in 1974 in London. He was a guitar maker. He still makes guitars sometimes. And he joined in 1982 and is in charge of doing all the major festival or Ratha Yatra in UK and other neighboring country, I believe, Scotland or Ireland. Which other country you do?
Yeah, not only in charge London.
Okay.
But actually, the person at the end of the big room at Soho Street Temple in London, he's actually in charge.
Okay.
He's black and he stands at the end of the room there.
That's Jagannath.
He's the real
Jagannath.
He's the real boss.
Yeah, he's the boss. But also he is a UK National Council member, and he also works for BBT, and he does organization of book distribution and.
I just manage. It's not actually BBT. It's the UK warehouse of books from the BBT.
Right,
so right. Somehow the devotees asked, they're very kind. They asked me to take over the management of that.
That's wonderful service,
so
because
we order the books in from the BBT and we send them out to the temples.
We know that this book distribution was very, very dear to Srila Prabhupada, so this is a very important and powerful service because people can get in contact to understand what is the ultimate goal of life. But Tiktsu Prabhu, we are very, very happy today to have you with us and doing this podcast. Tell us a little bit about your background, where you grew up, and your family, a little bit, whatever you want to share.
Yeah, I grew up in a small town called Colchester, which is about 50 miles northeast of London. It's near the port of Harwich.
Okay.
On the close to Europe, that side. And my mother was a school teacher, and my father, he was a design engineer. And,
design engineer, what was he designing? Airplane or car? Or?
He was industrial stuff.
Industrial.
I think they were called rotary vacuum filters. This thing about the size of a house, which is used in the oil industry for separating out the wax from oil and stuff like that.
I'm sorry. Maybe you can switch off the mobile. So he was an engineer, and he was involved in designing those machines as well, or also running in them.
Yeah, design.
Designing.
Yeah, design.
Okay.
So engineering, design, draftsman officially. So he would. That's what he did.
Nice. And you have brothers, sisters?
I've got one sister.
Okay.
A couple of years younger than me.
Nice. And she's in London?
She's still there.
Nice.
In Colchester.
Wonderful. So tell us about the service you're doing now. For example, you do a lot of Ratha Yatra. I believe 8 to 10 Ratha Yatra in a year you're doing? Yeah,
well, only the London one I was asked to manage.
Okay.
But I've been looking after the Rath carts. In fact, somehow or other, I've been with Jagannath for 40 years.
Nice.
Because I visited the London temple in 80. First time I visited a temple was the Manor in 1978, in March 78. And it was only 5 months after Prabhupada left.
Right.
I got given this book, The Science of Self-Realization, which had just been published. And that, I wasn't really the same after that. Then that same year I visited the London temple. I tried to visit Berry Place. Devotees were still living there, but it had closed. And they got this new place. They said, go to 10 Soho Street. So I went there, and it was a building site. what is now the temple room was just bare boards, bare floorboards. The plaster was off the wall, and the devotees gave me this strange sweet, which I later found out was a Mangalati sweet.
Nice.
But at that time, also in '78, I met the devotees at the second festival of Mind, Body and Spirit at Olympia in London, and I got a Bhagavad Gita there as well in '78. And I think about 1979 or 80, I went to Soho Street, and I got given this poster, and the poster was a collage of the different avatars of Krishna. There was Rama, there was Krishna, there was Varaha. And, I knew who they were, but there was one of them that was this smiley face with big eyes and a big smile was there on this poster. It was a collage of, it wasn't photographs, it was someone had drawn them and watercolour,
Nice.
So I put this poster up on the wall in my workshop where I built guitars. And I'd be working away, and every now and then I think, what's this? Someone's looking at me. I look up, and it was this face. And I didn't know who it was. And then it came to about 1982, and I went to visit Chaitanya College. It's a big temple we had here in the UK. And there was Jagannath. This is who this was. It was Jagannath. Jagannath was living there at that time. And the devotees said they found out that I knew some woodwork. So I got put to work building a rath cart with some other devotees, by a devotee called Mayapur, who'd come from America. And he'd just come from India, because he'd built a rath cart in Bombay, and then one in, I'm not sure where else. He did 3 in India, and then one in Bombay, one in Calcutta, and one in Bombay. And maybe there was another one. And then he was asked by the local acharya to come here and build one here. So I got involved with that, and after 3 weeks working on this chariot, at that time, actually Shiva Ramswamy, he tricked me into chanting 16 rounds, because he was the temple president at the time, and I was behind him one morning in the breakfast prasadam. I was behind him in the queue. And he turned to me, he says, "Back to Tony, how many rounds are you chanting?" And I said, 12 or 13, because I was just a guest, and we were working on the rath cart from 9 in the morning till 9 at night. So I thought I was doing quite well. And he says, "Okay, so you have to chant 16 from tomorrow, otherwise you've got to leave."
Oh my goodness.
So then, from then on, I was chanting 16 rounds a day. And he also very easily, very quickly and painlessly, he cut my attachment for building guitars. He called me to his office and he said, "So why can't you join?" And I said, "Well, I just spent 5 years learning how to make acoustic guitars and this and that." And he said, "Well, we've got 200 rooms here. I can send you to India and you can learn how to make harmoniums, and you can come back and make my harmoniums." I didn't say anything. I just probably pulled a funny face, because there's no real skill in building a harmonium. You just buy the bits and you make a wooden box together, and you just bolt it all together,
Yeah.
And I just I didn't say anything. And then he said to me, he said, "Better to carve Krishna consciousness in people's hearts." And that I just saw it for what it was. It was a completely selfish thing, that we don't have. We learn these skills. We don't have them. It's like I saw myself like a monkey in a circus. The monkey in the circus that learns some trick, and it runs around, does its trick, and everybody claps, and the monkey enjoys everyone clapping. So I just saw it like that. It was just a false ego thing. It was all about me, and yes, it was better to carve Krishna consciousness in people's hearts.
Absolutely.
And I was able to let go of that whole thing. So that was a very significant thing.
So you stopped making guitar at the time?
Well, it was one devotee called Mahaksha, and he commissioned me to build a guitar for him.
Nice.
So I built one last one for this devotee. In the end, he didn't take it, and I still got it.
Yeah, I saw it. You showed me last time.
So I still got that.
Nice. So, but basically, you went on building chariot.
Yeah, and so then I joined, and my first service, or one of my first services, was I was sent to Soho Street as a temple commander.
Okay.
And the first thing I had to do was Chaitanya College had closed, and the Rath cart was kept at Chaitanya College. So because it's Jagannath's paraphernalia, it now came under the care of Soho Street Temple in London, where Jagannath now resides. And they asked me to go and bring it down to the manor from Chaitanya College. So then I became the person who looked after the Rath carts, or the Rath cart. We only had the one. So then I would look after it and, take it to Rath Yatras. So then, after being temple commander, I joined travelling Sankirtan. I became Sankirtan leader at Soho for a couple of years. And then I had to build a new Tulsi house on the roof of Soho Street. And obviously I had to speak to Tulsi's Pujari. And so that's how I met my wife. And
Nice.
we got married in '86. And then we carried on serving at Soho for a year or two. I briefly joined the festival program with Tribhuvannath. He'd just started a festival program up in '87, '88 time. So I worked with him for maybe a year. We did a couple of festivals, Oxford and Bristol. And then after that, I thought, well, what should we do? I got a bus, actually, and I was kitting this bus out as a travelling temple. The idea was to travel around doing programs and festivals with this bus.
Nice.
But somehow that didn't really work out. And so in '88, I decided best thing would be to go to some city and try and open a temple. So I'd read about all these exciting stories in the Lilamrita about devotees going out and opening temples and so many magical things happening. I thought, well, let us try. If it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. But if it does, then it sounds like an interesting thing to do.
Yes.
So we went to see Shivaram Swami, who was the GBC then, at that time, and said, well, we're thinking maybe we could go to some city like Liverpool and open a temple. And he said, right, I'm not going to let you go unless you promise to stay a minimum of 5 years. So he says, so go away and think about it, then come and see me. So I thought, well, what's there to lose? Let's just go for 5 years and see what happens. So we did. We went there and we ended up staying 10 years in Liverpool. We managed to open a centre on the second most important shopping street, actually, in the city centre. And of course it was only rented. So after we left there in '99, 10 years later, the Scottish Yatra took over. And it was only a rented building. So after 3 years they closed it. But there was a lot of potential there. And during that time we carried on doing the London Rath Yatra, and I'd be asked to take the chariot to other Rath Yatras as well. So there was Leicester, there was Dublin, there was a few other ones. And then Shivaram Swami, he'd also become GBC of Hungary. So then we were taking the Rath cart, we were driving down to Hungary and back every year. And then doing Paris as well.
With the same chariot?
The same chariot.
Wow. So a lot of driving around.
Yeah, and sometimes then 7 years we were doing Prague as well. And we also went to Euro Woodstock 1 year in Poland. And then also in the UK we started doing other cities needed Rath Yatras, so we would take the cart to Leicester, Birmingham, Cardiff, Brighton, Dublin, Belfast, like that.
Nice.
So driving around. like that. Yeah.
Always ecstatic to see the people receiving the mercy of Jagannath and Prasada and the Holy Name and books.
Yeah, so, yes, Rath Yatra is very special. Jagannath is in a very special mood on that day. There is the rasa, or the mood of meeting someone who you love, and then there's also that rasa of being away, of being in separation from someone. But Rath Yatra is a mixture of those two rasas, because the first Rath Yatra was when there was a time of a solar eclipse.
Mm-hmm.
And Krishna at that time was the king of Dwarka, and he came to this holy place of Kurukshetra to observe the solar eclipse. It's a customary thing to do, and also the gopis and the gopas, they'd come from Vrindavan with their cows, and they'd set up camp on the other side of Kurukshetra in some wooded area, some forest area. And so Krishna had come with his 16,108 wives, Krishna, Balarama and Subhadra, a huge encampment, and they set up this huge camp city. But Krishna then, he was over 100 years old, because one lived to be 1,000 years old in the Dwapara Yuga. So Krishna, he was 100 years old at that time. He hadn't seen the gopis for almost 100 years since he left to go to Dwarka. So they heard that he had arrived and in Kurukshetra, and so they and their friends, they raced over. They ran over to the encampment of Krishna, and they just arrived. Krishna was on his chariot, and so was Subhadra, and Baladev was on his chariot. They spontaneously, they grabbed these chariots and they dragged them over to their side of Kurukshetra. So this is the first Rath Yatra. But Krishna, he wasn't the Krishna that they knew. So they were in this mood of meeting the beloved person. This rasa, this mood. But he was the king of Dwarka. He wasn't the Krishna, the cowherd boy who they knew. And so they were also feeling separation from Krishna. So this mood of simultaneous separation and meeting is considered greater. This mixture of these two rasas is considered greater than either one of them. And so this mood is present in Rath Yatra. Jagannath, he's experiencing ecstatic symptoms, and he's so kind and merciful on that day, so merciful, in fact, Srila Prabhupada, he said, he was talking to one life member once, and they were talking about the time of death, how at the time of death one sees one's whole life flash before one like a movie. And so they were saying like that, and Srila Prabhupada said, yes, he said, and when the movie gets to the point where you see Lord Jagannath on the Rath cart, he said at that time the movie stops and you go back to Godhead. You see,
that's beautiful.
So this is the mood of Jagannath. He's very kind. He's very merciful. Some say he's actually the deity for Kali Yuga. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's the Yuga avatar. He brings the Yuga Dham. Of course, he's Radha and Krishna combined. He's a special Yuga avatar.
Of course.
But some say that Jagannath Patita Pavana. And of course, he was the first deity to appear outside India.
Yes.
In San Francisco. And Prabhupada said that we should install Jagannath in all our temples.
Yes.
At one point. And you can even have Jagannath installed without Baladev and Subhadra. There's one temple in Canada where they did that. So, Rath Yatra is one of the most important parts of Prabhupada's preaching strategy. That he opened temples, he translated Bhagavatam, distribution of books, distribution of prasadam. But Rath Yatra was this special thing, special festival that Prabhupada even performed as a child. So he was very attached to Rath Yatra. And it's very interesting because it's the one festival where more or less everything that the Hare Krishna movement does is available for the public to see.
Yes.
There's public deity worship. There's kirtan, there's prasadam, there's book distribution. You know, where else can people get darshan of Krishna unknowingly without having to go to a temple? They're just walking down the street and all of a sudden there's Krishna. So it's very special.
So nice.
Yeah, so in 1999, by that time we got a 10-year-old boy and a 3-year-old girl born in Liverpool. We thought better for them to move down by the manor because there wasn't much association for them in Liverpool. And so we left Liverpool in 1999. And I came to the manor, I had no service at all. But then at that time they needed someone to take over managing the BBT warehouse. And they asked me to do that. And also the next year I was asked to take over the whole of London Rath Yatra because they needed someone to do that. There wasn't anyone to do it. And
of course, when we talk about taking over the responsibility, is not just making sure the chariot comes. That means we have to get a permit, we have to get the police involved, we have to get the mayor involved, we have to get all these things.
Yeah, to
correct.
Raise all the funds.
It's not just bringing the chariot there and do the festival.
Yeah, I mean, we had to raise the funds as well. So we started doing mail shot fundraising. Some strange things started happening actually. We started fundraising because the festival, after I agreed to take on managing the festival for the temple, they then informed me that it was £4,000 in debt afterwards, after I agreed. And so I borrowed another 4,000 from the temple to start the fundraising. So we started with £8,000 down in year 2000. So the first year we put the festival on and we did the fundraising, and there was £25,000 left over at the end.
Not bad.
And the same in 2001.
Not bad.
And the same in 2002. So there's £75,000 sitting in the bank.
Nice.
So I'm thinking, what's Jagannath want? He must want something.
Absolutely.
What is it?
What is it?
And I'm thinking like this. And then we get a phone call from the department, the government department that runs Trafalgar Square. This was in 2002 or 3. And they were asking everyone who uses Trafalgar Square to come down for a consultation meeting. And they had a model of Trafalgar Square in a glass box on a table. And what they'd done, the proposals were that they were going to change Trafalgar Square. Previously, Trafalgar Square was like a traffic island, like a roundabout with 4 lanes of traffic going all the way around it. And what they were proposing was that they were going to take out the top bit between there and the National Gallery, between the square and the National Gallery. Mm-hmm. Those 4 lanes of traffic were then going to be made a plaza, like a part of the square, and they were going to put a big load of steps in. And I thought to myself, that's interesting. You could put 3 Rath carts on there. Of course, we never had 3.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't put them on the bottom. There was no room on the bottom of Trafalgar Square to put 3 carts. So I thought that's interesting, but I thought, we've got £75,000. I mean, each cart would cost about 25 to build. So maybe this is what Jagannath wants. I don't know. So then the following January, the police called us for a meeting. Normally we would have to speak to the police 3 months before. We'd have to go and find them in March. We'd have to phone up, we'd have to make an appointment to see them and get the permission. So previously I used to joke with the police officer in charge. I used to say to him, if we had 3 carts, it would be much easier to manage the festival, the procession. It would be much easier, Of course it wouldn't, but I just used to joke with him like that it would be easier if we had 3. And he would always say to me, look, there's enough chaos with 1. I'm never going to let you have 3 carts. So anyway, this year, this chap, Stuart, his name was, an inspector, he called us. So myself and Paramakruna, we went down. We think, why is he calling us? We went down and we went in the office, and he said, so, he says, how many carts are you going to have this year? And we said, well, 1. And he said, just like it was his own idea, like he'd never heard me say it, nothing. He just said, well, I think you should have 3 because it would make the procession more manageable. This is what he said. So we nearly fell off our chairs. We're sitting there, you know, we couldn't believe what he was saying. So then that was it. We went ahead and we built the 2 other carts. But, you know, if Jagannath wants something, if Krishna wants something, it will happen. Whether we like it or not.
Absolutely.
I mean, for us, it was when for many years I was thinking it'd be so nice to have 3 carts, but it was just like a dream. It was an impossibility for us because we didn't have the cash. There was no cash. Before I took over the festival, we had to beg from the temples to just buy some paint every year. So there was no cash. There was no way of getting any funds. There's nowhere on Trafalgar Square to put 3 carts. And there's no way the police would give us permission. But yet, Jagannath gave us the cash. More than enough.
Nice.
Jagannath arranged for Trafalgar Square to be changed. And then he changed the mind of the police officer. So then we had 3 carts.
We're just instrument in the hand of perfect master.
Yeah. I mean, we can't,
Amazing.
you know, we can't do it. It's only by the kindness of the devotees, actually, that we have
That's
any
true.
service.
That's true.
There's something we try to remember.
Yeah.
You know, that we don't have a right. You know, at any moment, Krishna can take that service away from us.
Absolutely.
But it's a huge privilege to have any service, and it's only by the mercy of the Vaishnavas that we have any service at all. So it's a great honour to have some little service to do. So.
What about this, in India we do all the Ratha Yatra in the same day because the Panda of Jagannath Puri, they passed a resolution that we should have a festival in the same day. And I believe also they wanted us to do it all over the world, but they can't because, we outside of India, they cannot enforce it. So I don't know if you know anything about this.
Maybe 10, 15 years ago, one of the I don't know what it was, something to do with the Jagannath Puri temple.
Yeah,
in
the
India.
Panda, one of the Panda.
One of the Pandas. He was a professor as well.
Okay.
He got my email, he wrote to me and he said, why you don't have on the same day? Mm-hmm. This is an offence or something like that. So I wrote a letter. I mean, it was a great honour for someone from Jagannath Puri, one of the Purushottama Vasis, to write to me. I thought, wow, so I thanked him. I said that I'm so honoured that you have written that someone from Puri is writing all the way here to London. And I explained to him that we would love to do Rath Yatra on the same day as Puri, but because the cult of Jagannath is not as developed as it is in India, we don't have the following. And the government would never give us permission to do it on a weekday, because quite often it would fall on a weekday. They'd never give us permission to clog up the city with a few hundred people, a few thousand. If we had, and the only way that we're going to be able to increase the devotees of Jagannath is to keep holding Rath Yatra whenever we can. That in the West, it's whenever you can get permission. It's not an ordinary thing to get permission. It's difficult a lot of the time.
Yes.
So I explained like that, and I also mentioned to him that if all the devotees all over the world had to do Rath Yatra on the same day, none of them could come to Puri.
Yes.
But as it is, devotees can come to Puri and worship the Lord on Rath Yatra in Puri. And, that wouldn't be possible if we all had to do it on the same day.
Yes.
And also it would mean, even all over India, that less devotees would be coming to Puri. It would actually diminish the Puri Rath Yatra. Whereas instead, the way it is, that we can all do our own Rath Yatra and go to Puri.
So you have no objection for that?
I never heard back. I wrote the letter, very polite. I tried, and I never heard anything. Yeah.
That's nice. That's nice. Yeah, Lord Jagannath is so wonderful. The Rath Yatra, the people, anybody who has darshan of Jagannath, they can make some advancement, receive prasadam and books, and they can hear the holy name as well.
I mean, we have the unique opportunity to be able to see through the eyes of the most merciful Acharya that has walked this planet for many thousands of years, and that is His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Because one thing I've noticed through reading, of course I never met him, so through reading Lilamrita and letters and conversations and hearing stories from his disciples, that he would see in every situation how to turn that situation for the most benefit of the population at large, whoever or whatever it was.
Yes.
So having Rath Yatra whenever you can is more important than not being able to have it because you can't have it on the right day.
Absolutely.
Therefore there's more mercy.
Yes.
It was all about how to get the holy name, how to get prasadam, how to get books to the maximum number of people, how to bring others to Krishna.
That's the mission of Lord Chaitanya. Prithvidache Jaturadhanadi Gram. He said, wherever you go, my name will be heard in every town and village. So
there's so many examples of Prabhupada's mercy. One of them, there was he was at the manor. I heard this story. He was at the manor, and he had maybe 20 disciples were there in his room with him, and there was a visiting Mayavadi came to see Prabhupada, and he talked about Mayavad philosophy, and then at the end he gave out a leaflet to all the devotees, or he gave out a bunch of leaflets to Prabhupada to give. So then he went, and then Prabhupada, he told them, pass all the leaflets out to the devotees. So they passed them out. And then Prabhupada said, now turn them over. This is blank on the back. He says, serve prasad. So he was
using everything.
He was using it. So that person, he was a Mayavad, but he got some mercy. He got some, he did some unknown service. Another time, this extreme mercy, devoid of any false prestige or ego or anything. One devotee came to Prabhupada in his rooms and he said, I want to get divorced. And Prabhupada said, yeah, okay. So then, I think it was Shrutakirti or somebody was there, and the devotee went, and he said to Prabhupada, so, I thought we don't have divorce, and you said he could get divorced. And Prabhupada said, yes, I could see that he was going to do it anyway. So therefore, better for me to give him permission than for him to make Guru Aparad. So what kind of mercy is, that's extreme.
Yeah.
To consider,
the position of the devotees.
Yeah, not considering, I'm the Guru, I have given this command, you shall not get divorced.
Yeah.
It wasn't about Prabhupada. It was about, this poor soul, he's going to do it anyway. Better he doesn't make Guru Aparad and gets a reaction. So it's
amazing.
Such a merciful soul.
Yeah.
Every situation was used for the benefit of others.
I guess that's the difference between the Acharya and ordinary living entity. The intense desire to reconnect the lost living entity in the material world with the Lord and make them a little bit spiritual advancement. So that vision Srila Prabhupada had, and wherever he went, he was able to implement that vision. Also, he used to see people as a spirit soul, not as whatever they were in the material body. So tell us any particular pastime you had with Jagannath while doing Ratha Yatra, some particular situation where it happened that, without the mercy of the Lord, this wouldn't work or something. I'm sure that you have some experience in your mind.
When I first got married, I thought, great, I got someone here who knows how to sew. We can make a new Rath cart canopy. So the canopy before was made out of thick plastic. Like you have on these big trucks, you have a curtain side.
Yeah.
Curtain side of a truck. I don't know
Right.
if you've seen these things.
Yeah, I did.
This very heavy plastic.
Very heavy plastic material.
So it was made out of that. And of course, red just goes pink anyway with the sun.
Yeah, it
So-
loses color.
It was it was made in 82, so this is 86, so 4 years old. And I thought, let's find something which is brighter and looks nicer. And so we didn't have the internet. There was no internet in 1980,
Yeah, at that time.
86, no internet,
No internet.
nothing. You had to find everything out, by asking people, by looking in libraries and looking in catalogues, mail order things. And so I thought, well, what about this nylon? So at that time, sleeping bags and warm coats, they were made out of this nylon, which was called ripstop. It had little squares in it,
Yeah.
in the nylon, so that if you tore it, it only went to the next square. But it was shiny. It would look like silk, silky looking. I thought, I wonder where we can get that from. So not far from the temple in London is an area called Covent Garden, and there's all kind of cultural things. And
Mm-hmm.
it used to be a fruit and vegetable and flower market up until the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it turned into like a kind of new age area with lots of shops and stuff. So we were walking through there one day, and we saw this shop called the Kite Shop, and they sold bits of this ripstop nylon for making kites.
Right.
So we went in there and spoke to the guy, and he said, "Where can you get this from?" And he said, "Well, I've got a contract with a couple of manufacturers. They make hot air balloons and they make parachutes out of this stuff. And there's a regulation that if there's so many faults per 100 meters in the cloth, in these rolls of cloth, then it has to be rejected for health and for safety reasons. They cannot use it if it's got any faults in it."
Yeah.
So he said, so they just send me offcuts of this stuff, for making. I sell it to people to make kites. I said, "Oh, we need a big roll of red and a big roll of yellow, and we need it to be 5 feet long, so we don't have to have a join in the middle of the canopy. We didn't want to have more than one join. We got one join up the middle of the canopy, going from top to bottom, and we didn't want to have to sew, 3 bits together. And we knew that cloth could come in 60-inch, 5-foot lengths. But quite often it was like a metre, which is 48, or it was smaller, it was a yard or something, or 4 foot. Anyway, he said, yeah, it doesn't come that big. But I don't know. We never get big amounts like that. We just get these offcuts.
Business.
But, come in, you never, just check up every now and then. So I think it was a week later or 2 weeks later, we were walking past the kite shop and, charting some rounds and that. I thought, let's go in and see him. So we walked in, And the guy, he looked at us, and he nearly fell over. His eyes were big, and he said, "You never guess what happened." He said, "A big roll of red came in, and a big roll of yellow, and they're 5 foot long. They're a big size." He said, "I don't know what's going on." Anyway, so we bought them off him, and it was just what we wanted, what we needed.
Amazing.
And then we were walking through there maybe 2 weeks later, a week later. We walked past there. We thought we'd take the guy some prasadam, because we were in dhoti and sari all the time. He only saw us as devotees with tilak on and everything. And we went there, and the place was closed. It was gone. It was all shut up and gone. The shop was empty. It was just bare boards in there. We looked through the window. There's nothing there. It was all gone.
Amazing.
So somehow this shop had just manifested, given us this
The supply
cloth,
there,
and
Lord
just disappeared.
Jagannath, disappear. So many magical things happen when we do service for the Lord.
There's another time, for some years we were doing the festival ending in Battersea Park by the river. And one incident happened there actually. Because it's by the river. It used to be quite late. We used to have this big kirtan at the end till 9:30. And then we'd be packing the cart up and it would be getting dark. And of course all the devotees would go and there'd just be like 2 or 3 of us left to pack the
Put
cart
together.
away, get it back to the manor. And this particular night, everyone had gone and there was a fog. A fog had come off the river as the Thames was just there by Battersea Park. And it was foggy and it was dark. And there were no lights in the park where we were. Because if you didn't get the cart loaded, you couldn't see what you were doing.
Right.
It was dark. And we were completely wiped out, the 3 of us. And the way we used to load the cart in those days, we used to have these steel ramps actually, and they were made out of 6 mil by 50 mil angle iron. So 6 mil thick, 50 mil angle, and it was a big wheel stand with a steel ramp on it, an RSJ ramp on it. And they were heavy. It took three of us, if we were lucky, to lift these up. They were a good weight. And we'd had it. We were finished, and we just couldn't. We couldn't lift these. And we'd sort of been up since 3 or something, and it was now 10 at night. And so out of the fog, this huge guy appeared. I don't know who he was. He came over, he said, "Are you having trouble there?" and he just picked these things up. It took 3 of us to lift one of these. He just picked them up and put them on the truck. We never found out. We never found out who he was. He just wandered off and disappeared into the fog again. So we don't know who this personality was.
Amazing. So you feel like the Rath Yatra will continue for many, many years. But my question to you is, are you training some people to also participate in this? Because we are getting old.
Yeah, I mean, one thing, I learn a few things by watching the police, how they work. And one thing they do is that, there's two things that they do. Sometimes the police would, there'd be one a junior policeman. He'd be in charge of the whole procession, in charge of sergeants and inspectors and the whole thing. And I was talking to them about it, and they said, well, the way we work is that whoever's qualified, whoever's best at doing the job, even if they're only a junior officer or a junior policeman,
They'll do it.
We'll let them do it, and they'll be in charge. So it's a question of utilising the skills.
Absolutely.
So that was very interesting. And the other one was that they said that they, in the police, no one is ever in charge of more than 7 people. You never have more than 7 people under you. And that's the same in the army as well.
Because they can monitor easily.
Because you can't have a working relationship with more than 7 people. This is what they concluded.
That's nice.
So we split So when I heard that, I split the Rath Yatra into 7 departments, or teams. We call them teams,
Yeah.
team leaders. It sounds more friendly.
Nice.
So, yeah. So, yeah. Also, everyone has to have a number 2. Everyone has to have someone they're training who assists them. Up until a couple of years ago, I had 2 number 2s, because I figured for the person who's overseeing it that you need a couple of deputies. Unfortunately, Paramakaruna Prabhu left his body at the age of 50, which was unexpected.
Very young.
But I still have another devotee, Damodar Krishna. He knows how to get all the permissions. He knows how it all works. So if anything happens to me,
Yeah.
he can carry on.
It's very important. So thank you so much for giving us all this wonderful information. Is there any question I did not answer you, or there is something more you'd like to say to our audience?
I don't know how long they got.
Oh, we got another few minutes, so you can tell something about whatever you like to share. How we can become a better devotee, let me ask you this question, because we are always improving. Every day we're trying to improve, and everybody's trying to, from whatever level they are, trying to always move forward.
Srila Prabhupada's mood, from what I can see, was always how can we bring others to Krishna, and that means all the way home back to Godhead.
Yes.
And my understanding is that is the Yuga Dharma. Sometimes you ask devotee, what's the Yuga Dharma? And they say, oh, it's chanting Hare Krishna.
Mm.
But I would say that that's only part of it. It's not all of it. Because it's about giving it to others.
Yes.
Chaito Darpana Marjanam, first instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it's congregational chanting. Prabhupada he translates it as congregational chanting. And also in the Nectar of Devotion and the 64 processes of devotional service, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu summarized as 5, one of them is chanting Hare Krishna, but Prabhupada writes congregational chanting in Nectar of Devotion. So Prabhupada qualifies what congregational chanting means. It means going out for the benefit of others. So therefore we can conclude that chanting of japa, association of devotees, the morning program, the studying the Bhagavatam, all these activities we do is to bring us to that point of giving it to others. Just like if you have a glass of water, you keep filling it, eventually it will overflow. So it would seem to me that by filling ourselves up with Krishna, either with prasadam or with the prasadam, with the holy name, with Bhagavatam, with whatever means we have to get Krishna inside us, through the ears, through the mouth, however we can get Krishna inside. At a certain point, we overflow. And so it would seem to me that is the goal of the devotee, is to become overflowing with Krishna consciousness.
So other people can take it and move into a better position in life and eventually go back home back together. Nice. So preaching is the essence, purity is the force, book are the basis. But to be practical. So how do you see the movement moving on from the beginning to now? There have been so many changes, so many improvements, so many devotees, so many temples open, so many books distributed, and so many different levels of preaching, from internet to yoga studio to this and that. So how you see the future of our movement? How we can...
Well, the reality is it's ever expanding.
Yes.
This is a reality. Whatever, however Maya is trying to attack, then it's not really making any difference. The overall picture is that Krishna consciousness is ever expanding.
Yes.
Ananda
Buddhi Vardhanam.
That there will be ups and downs. There always are.
Always.
One analogy that I popped into my head one day was that the mission coming from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is like it's like the soul. It's eternal.
Yes.
And ISKCON, the institution, is like the body, because the body carries the soul in the material world.
Yes.
So, just like even the body of Srila Prabhupada would get sick from time to time. So similarly, the body of ISKCON, which is carrying the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, may suffer from some sickness here and there. But overall, it's very fit and healthy.
Yes. I think as long as we remain sincere and honest with ourselves and others, and keep the mission of Lord Chaitanya and Srila Prabhupada in focus, we will be able to overtake any difficulty.
I think we also have to be very mindful of appreciating every devotee.
Absolutely, yes.
And respecting all others.
Yes, they're all in different level, but still everybody's contributing and making his level best attempt.
Like when we go and get permission for Rath Yatra, we try and see that before this person is a police officer or a government official, they're spirit soul that needs Krishna. And we try to relate to people as them, as opposed to the position.
Absolutely.
And you can actually feel that they pick up on that and they respond. We get so much goodwill from the government officials. We're always giving them cakes and Mangalati sweets, and
that's our weapons.
well, it's insurance. It's like, you want to do a Rath Yatra? Okay, you take out some insurance here. You make sure you give them cakes and Mangalati sweets. So
that works always.
It's insurance.
Nice. Okay, any message you'd like to give to the listener of today's podcast of Radio Mayapur? Any special message or reminder or whatever is in your heart?
Or if you're in Mayapur, get up the Jagannath Mandir quick.
We have a listener from all over the world, from Australia, New Zealand, and Japan, everywhere.
Somehow try and put on Rath Yatra. Try and give Krishna to others. That's the actual Yuga Dham, the actual nectar of Krishna consciousness is experienced when you try and give Krishna to others. Like everyone you meet, Prabhupada said, everyone you meet, you tell about Krishna. Of course, you can't do that directly with everyone you meet.
Yes.
But I found that if you try and keep that in your mind, then Krishna sends people.
Absolutely.
I find so many times. And I've got friends also like that who find that if you're open to wanting to try and help others out of this horrible material world, Krishna will send them.
Yes.
Krishna will send them. There's no argument about
There's
that.
no shortage. There's a plenty
there's
supply.
no question. If you want to help others, Krishna will arrange
Krishna
it.
will arrange it, yes.
We just have to have that.
So we have to
keep that in
become,
mind.
in other words, the catalyst by which we can connect people with Krishna, with the Lord.
Just have to, there's nothing special. We just repeat, we're just the instrument. Like the Prabhupada said, like the postman.
We are the postman, yes.
What someone does with it, that's their business.
Yes.
We just try and deliver.
I think also it's very important that we ourselves remain in that fire of Krishna consciousness by practicing what we preach. In other words, we have sadhana, we chant the holy name, we read Prabhupada books. We are inspire ourselves, because that way other people will feel inspired. So I'd like to thank you very much, Tiktsu Prabhu, for today's podcast, and I hope to see you in Mayapur soon. Please do listen to our Radio Mayapur and give us feedback. And thank you very much. Srila
Thank you,
Prabhupada.
Jai.
Jai
Prabhupada
Srila
ki jai.
Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
You're listening to Radio Mayapur with the best devotional, meditation, kirtan music, and inspirational podcast. This is Radio Mayapur.